So if there's one saving grace about Donald Trump and his administration, it's that the authoritarianism is only matched by the incompetence. And my God, is the incompetence reaching never before seen heights. Because yesterday, after Donald Trump had to fire the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia to get in his own White House lackey, Lindsey Halligan, to bring an indictment against James Comey, who he's long had an axe to grind with, today, even the most die-hard Donald Trump boosters on Fox News are having trouble justifying the indictment. Because let's be clear, it is the most clearly sham political persecution possibly we've ever seen in the history of this country. It's not going to hold up in court. It's barely holding up as is. They might not even be able to get this past a judge, frankly. But Donald Trump wanted the indictment, so Donald Trump got the indictment. And let's see him get asked about it this morning.
Now that James Comey has been indicted, who is the next person on your list in this retribution?
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical left Democrats, because Comey essentially was he was worse than a Democrat. I would say the Democrats are better than Comey. But
yes, they're all radical left Democrats, of course, except James Comey is a Republican, or was a Republican at least, until everything went down. And again, trust me, there are plenty of Democrats out there who are trying as hard as possible to feel bad for James Comey after everything that went down with the 2016 election. Anyone who stands up against Donald Trump is a corrupt, radical left Democrat now. It doesn't matter if you were a Republican up until 5 minutes ago. And it's just the incompetence for me again, because if Donald Trump doesn't think that his tweets at Pam Bondi calling for these persecutions, if he doesn't think this footage won't be shown in court, it will be. You literally had to install your personal attorney in order to get this charge brought against James Comey. Everyone with eyes knows this is a political persecution. Were Donald Trump and a lot of his allies indicted in the past? Yes, because they actually committed crimes. They were overwhelmingly convicted by juries of their peers, and a lot of those cases went to trial. Comey's case is not going to go to trial. And there's also no comparison whatsoever to what Joe Biden's DOJ was doing versus what Donald Trump's is. Joe Biden was not involved personally in any of the prosecutorial decisions made by his DOJ. The charges against Trump while Biden was president were brought by a special counsel, not by Biden's DOJ. I mean, case in point, Biden's own DOJ went after the president's son, versus again, in this case, the U.S. attorney refused to even bring the charges. The inspector general said there was no wrongdoing. But now, on the eve of the passing of the 5-year statute of limitations, the charge is being brought because Donald Trump really, really wants to have this fight. And if you don't want to take it from me, then take it from Andrew McCarthy, who is a Fox News media analyst.
First, give us your reaction to the indictment.
Well, I don't think there's a case. The things that Kash Patel that you just played, that he was talking about, that you and I have spoken about for years, Maria, the Russiagate stuff, I'm as big a critic of that probably as there is. I wrote a book about it. I think it was a disgrace, and history will remember it that way. This indictment is not about that, and it seems to be premised on something that's not true, which is that McCabe said that Comey authorized him to leak to the Wall Street Journal. If you look closely at what McCabe said was that he directed a leak to the Wall Street Journal and told Comey about it after the fact. So it's true that Comey never authorized it in the sense of okaying it before it happened. So I don't see how they can make that case.
What about the leaking in general? I mean, what about leaking a story that they may have known was a lie to the media? Because if you're the director of the FBI, you need the evidence to say, yeah, I mean, for years, congressmen and lawmakers were trying to understand, Devin Nunes, John Ratcliffe, trying to understand what's the origins of this investigation. So what was the origins of Russia collusion with Trump? And so they never really had any evidence of it, but they leaked it to the press?
Yeah, but that's not what this case is about. I totally agree with you if you were talking about the information that was provided to the FISA court that claimed that Trump was in collusion with the Kremlin. But that's not what this case is about. What this case is about is Comey is accused of lying because what Ted Cruz said, and this, and what Cruz said, and I think this was just a garble on his part, was that Comey authorized McCabe to orchestrate the leak. And what the Inspector General found, and this isn't even just what the Inspector General found, this is McCabe's own version of events.
Right.
McCabe said that he directed the leak and he told Comey about it afterwards. Now, they have a dispute about what exactly McCabe told Comey afterwards and whether Comey was approving or disapproving of it. But the charge is that Comey authorized the leak, and he didn't authorize the leak.
I see. Well, the judge assigned to this case.
Yeah, frankly, you don't even need a law degree to know that there's no case here. You just need to have half a brain. But again, because Donald Trump and the MAGA cultists who support him are demanding this, we're going to get it. And let's take a look now at another Fox News legal analyst who is making the case that even if there was any wrongdoing on James Comey's part, which again, there isn't, but even if there was, the evidence that this is a selective prosecution is so strong because Donald Trump literally cannot stop tweeting about how much he wants James Comey to be prosecuted, is so strong, and in any previous administration, it would be a scandal on its own.
Let's not mince words here. I say this as a former Justice Department reporter. This was completely and totally orchestrated by President Trump. He says he's leaving it to justice, but he very much out in the open. Remember, he fired his own appointee as U.S. attorney in that part of Virginia because he didn't think there was enough evidence to bring this case, brought in White House aide, his former defense lawyer, whose job was to get this done, and apparently that has worked. I think we've become inured to this, but in previous administrations, any hint of contact within a criminal case would be a scandal on its own. And so President Trump, by the way he pulled the strings, has gotten his way with this initial indictment.
Dude, I am old enough to remember when Bill Clinton said hello to Loretta Lynch on the tarmac, and that was a scandal. You have the President of the United States tweeting to his Attorney General that they need to bring charges against the president's political enemies. And it's just like par for the course at this point. And frankly, I wonder how long it's going to take for Donald Trump to start tweeting out that these Fox News analysts need to be fired, because they're just reporting what they're seeing, which is that this political hack job is in fact a political hack job. Even all of these folks who are saying, yeah, I would like to see James Comey be thrown in prison, but this isn't the way to go about it. Even the people who hate James Comey, who want to see him suffer, are like, dude, this is the most incompetent way to go about accomplishing that goal. And as another Fox News analyst points out, MAGA is going to be disappointed.
Well, look, James Comey, even before Donald Trump was elected, had a long string of highly political decisions that he had made in office. That's why my editorial page actually advocated that Donald Trump, as soon as he was inaugurated the first time, he fire him. Unfortunately, he didn't do that. And now we have everything that's come since. And while I think a lot of Americans would love to see some sort of accountability for James Comey for many, many reasons, for many, many sins, I'm not sure this particular charge is the way to go about it, in part because I'm not sure it's actually going to stick in the end, and that's going to leave a lot of disappointed people too. Andy can probably jump into the legality even more, but this is potentially a problematic prosecution.
Okay,
It's just Bush League shit. And as much as I don't care about James Comey, I care about living in a banana republic. This is where we're at now, where the autocrat just prosecutes his political opponents. And if he can't find an attorney who will do it, he fires them and finds another one who will. It is scary. It is ridiculous. But also, just again, because they're such Bush League morons, it's not going to work. James Comey will be fine because he still gets his day in court, and their case is so thin and so bad, he is going to be vindicated, and Donald Trump, for the 8 millionth time in the last 10 years, is going to look like a moron. So in the words of Joe Biden, Donald, best of luck in your senior year.